Hey there, folks. It's Zach at Feel Free to Argue. And, interesting day. Interesting day yesterday and interesting times ahead. Remains to be seen whether that's the interesting of the Chinese curse, may you live in interesting times. But, I'm going to be guardedly optimistic, and I'm going to look a little bit at what are the positive things that we can genuinely say came out of yesterday? Because regular watchers of my channel know that I'm deeply ambivalent, actually, about Obama's victory in a lot of ways. But I mean, that being said, I did go for the lesser of two evils. I did vote for him. I even worked for him a little bit at the end. Didn't give him any money. But I did contribute to some other causes. I don't know whether they finally called Franken yet. I haven't even had a chance to check that out this morning. It'd be nice if Coleman went down last night. But no matter what else happens, we elected a black person yesterday for president. And I think that is an absolute unqualified good, and surely about time. And my wife's brother lives in Indonesia, and actually I'm not sure if he lives in Indonesia now. He lives in Asia, has lived in Indonesia, but he was visiting us a little while ago. And he pointed out, and I've read about this in many different places, so I mean I certainly know it's true, that we should not underestimate the importance internationally of electing not only a black person, but one with that name, with that clearly Muslim name. He's not a Muslim, but he does have that name, and that means a lot to people around the world, that we could get past both of those things, actually. Whatever the circumstances that brought us to this point, that we were able to do this. I think if anything, the world will quite possibly read too much into it, as I imagine people in this country will. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people who woke up this morning and said, well, that's the end of racism. Ain't no more racism, clearly, in the country if a black person can be president. And certainly that's not the case. That's not one of the things that we can take out of yesterday, that racism has suddenly vanished from the United States. Aside from that, I mean, I think that I am heartened by the fact that McCain's campaign, and specifically his choice of Sarah Palin, don't seem to have worked at all. Though, honestly, I'm in the camp of Mike Nichols, who said just a week ago that if McCain had voted against the bailout, he probably would have won the election. And honestly, considering how unpopular the bailout was, I think if he had done that, if he had just kind of left the Democrats holding the bag on that issue, I think there could have been a very good chance that he could have actually won the election, as scary as that is. But as I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, today I'm going to get out and I'm going to attend a meeting by Liberty Tree. And for those of you who didn't see the previous video, Liberty Tree is an organization that is working to get free and fair elections in this country. And unfortunately, the election yesterday, because it was such a blowout, ends up not proving anything. And more importantly, I think will give a lot of people false comfort in the election system that we have. So once again, because people are satisfied with the result, they're not going to have like a huge outcry to eliminate the Electoral College. nor is there going to be, the kind of serious examination of the voter disenfranchisement stuff that's out there on the books already. Now, much in the same respect that you can hit a home run with a broken baseball bat, you can certainly elect the person who is supposed to win with even a desperately flawed electoral process. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are feeling foolish today. I mean, I even, kind of want to feel foolish in the respect that, I know I've been very cynical about the election, about whether or not, there was going to be a fight, whether there was going to be mass voter suppression, whether it was going to end up being switched to McCain, and even, various nightmare scenarios of the imposition of martial law, etc. But I would counsel anybody who's been somewhat alarmist about the election to still be so. Because yesterday didn't prove anything. It didn't put a stamp of health on our electoral process. We learned nothing, actually, except that if someone is prohibitively supposed to win, that it does not seem to be stealable in those circumstances. But these things, these voter suppression laws, these voter ID laws, they're still bad. The Electoral College is still something imposed between the will of the people and our election results, because we're not trusted to do the right thing in a popular vote. These problems still exist. They are laws that are written into the books, and if we don't want to have them anymore, we must campaign against them and have them removed. And I think that's important to remember about a lot of aspects of what's happened in the last 8 years, and even going back farther, because, lots of problems happened under Clinton, lots of problems happened under Reagan. You can go back as far as you want, and there are presidents who are writing things into our laws, the laws of our land, that need to be removed. So, just in general, I think everybody in this country needs to have an activist mentality. They need to get more serious about watching the government, about being informed, about learning what's happening, so that you can and be active about it. Now, I try to write at least one letter a week to a congressman, to a newspaper, to whatever. And I would really recommend that everybody do this, just as a nominal way of continuously applying pressure. Because you know that today, because Obama won, the big corporate interests that have been running the country for the last 8 years, they haven't said, oh, well, I guess, that's it. People have voted, and now I guess we just have to wait, 4 years and see if we can get a Republican elected. No, it's not what's going to happen. They're all there today. They got their checkbooks open, and they're ready to start buying the government again. And if you want to stop that, you need to have a counterweight. And the only counterweight that's even remotely meaningful is you threatening your elected officials with not voting for them and kicking them out on their asses. And there's got to be a lot of that. There's got to be a lot of that going forward. So we can reclaim this country, and so we can get all of the damage that has been done to the country taken out, removed. And that's not a passive process. That's an active process. That means picking things that we're upset about and making sure, campaigning to get them removed. Well, this is Zach Elliott. Let's have a terrorist fist jab! Alright, I had to do that at the end. You can feel free to argue. Look forward to talking to you more in the days and weeks ahead.